Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head over to Ireland once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel once before. So the last beer I had from these guys was very nice. It was a big Imperial Stout and I really enjoyed it. And the one that we're going to have a look at today is at the other end of the spectrum. So I have to say, I'm quite curious to see how this one turns out. So hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this one we are going to go to the Republic. We are going to go to Wexford in the southeast corner of the country, and we're having a look at another beer from Yellowbelly Beer. So this one is called Pirate Bay. It comes in at 4.5% ABV, and this one is a session IPA, and by the looks of it, it's going to be a New England session IPA. So yeah, this is one of their core range beers. It is supposed to be very nice, so let's crack on with it and see how we go. So a massive shout out in this video to Paul Rogers of Dalriada Imports. He very kindly gave me this beer along with a bunch of others. You might have seen my unboxing stream that I did a couple of videos back, but it's thanks to him that you guys are going to get to enjoy a steady stream of Irish reviews over the next little while. And he imports all these Irish beers over here to Scotland, which is great, and I get to test them for you here on the channel. So yeah, massive shout out to him. But also a big shout out to Thomas at Thomas Window Beer, and also Brendan Sewell at Views on Brews. Those are two Irish beer tubers who are doing a great job of promoting Irish beer over there. So I'll try to remember to put the links to their channels in the description below, and I'll try and put an email for Paul and things down there. So if you are watching and you want to bring Irish beers into your bars and stuff, Paul is the man that you want to speak to. But yeah, cool to return to these guys again after quite a little while. Let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Yellowbelly Beer before, and you will see another review from these guys fairly soon, and I'm sure more beyond that, so keep your eyes peeled for those. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Irish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to quite regular at the moment because of the very nice beers that Paul gave me, of course. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Yellowbelly Brewing then, or Yellowbelly Beer, however we're going to refer to them. But anyway, brewery notes. So, Yellowbelly Brewing, Yellowbelly Beer, as I've mentioned to you, are based in Wexford, a little place called Pembrokestown, and the company was founded by Nicky and Simon Lambert. So, their family have run the Simon Lambert and Sons pub for over 50 years, and they took over from their father back in 2006. But they both went on to study for brewing certificates, and they built up a very small brewery in the basement of the pub. But later they encountered Londonderry native Declan Nixon, who was a classically trained brewer with a lot of experience in cask ale, and he joined the company as their head brewer. But they also managed to get their hands on Brewdog's second generation brew kit that they'd been using in Fraserburgh, and apparently it had been sold but ended up caught in customs in Madagascar. And after this deal to sell it fell through, they actually managed to get their hands on it and buy it. So at this point, they secured a new production premises and they got brewing on the new kit in March of 2017. But this thing actually also led to a collaboration with Brewdog, and they managed to get their beer and their name out there a little bit on the back of this. So Yellowbelly, of course, seems like quite an unusual name, but it's actually a nickname for Wexford locals that comes from hurling. So apparently there was a game between a group of Cornish and Wexford men, and in this match the Wexford men were given yellow handkerchiefs to tie around their stomachs to play the game. But King William III and his wife observed the game, and he was reported to have called them the Yellowbellies during the game, and this term just kind of stuck. But yeah, for the brewery, Yellowbelly is actually a time-travelling superhero who goes to different places in time and seeks out different recipes, and the artwork on here is from Paul Reck, and this is one of the very distinctive things. You're not going to miss the Yellowbelly beers in the shop if you see them. But he's created various comic books surrounding this character and also a game, and you can find all of these things on the website. But interestingly, these guys were the first brewery in Ireland to have a sour beer in their core range. Over the last few years, they've been continued to expand their fermentation capacity and developing new beers. And as of October 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 165 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. Although it does say in the little blurb thing at the top of the Untappd page that they've produced over 300 different kinds of beer. So I'm not sure exactly which figure will be most accurate, but I guess maybe quite a few of the ones that they did in the casks and things in the early days might not have been marked up on Untappd. But they also have their Grady's Yard Bar in Waterford City, which has 22 different taps, and that of course is where you can find many of the different Yellowbelly beers if you want to go and see them. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Yellowbelly Brewing, Yellowbelly Beer, however you want to call them. For the moment, but if you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, that is it for the moment. Let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So as you can see, it's got that beautiful artwork on it that we have come to know and love from Yellowbelly. This is actually only my second review that I've done from these guys. The last one was called It's Not Vodka, which was a big imperial stout, and it was very, very nice. But yeah, we do have another one that Paul gave me, which you'll see in a few videos time. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That will also be an interesting beer to review. But plain silver top on the can here. This beer has a malt base of Pilsner, flaked oats, wheat, and Caraclear, which I'm guessing is an Irish malt. I've not heard of this one before, but the hops in this beer are Centennial, Hallertau Blanc, Idaho 7 and El Dorado. So Centennial, Idaho 7 and El Dorado are of course all American, and Hallertau Blanc is German. So Centennial comes in about 12-13% alpha acid. It gives you lots of kind of lemony flavours. Hallertau Blanc is one of the high alpha acid German hops, gives you some lovely Nelson Sauvin like qualities, actually lovely green grapes, a little bit of gooseberry as well. Idaho 7 gives you a lot of the very soft tropical fruits, you know, like apricots and papayas and a little bit of pineapple and all these kind of things. And El Dorado is a mix of, like, you know, mango and pineapple from what I remember. So for a session IPA coming in at 4.5%, I think this could turn out to be pretty nice. And as we said, the malt base has flaked oats and wheat in it, and some Irish malt that we don't know. So I think this one could go down very, very well, but definitely a sort of New England session IPA, this one. But yeah, the Pirate Bay session IPA, 4.5% ABV from Yellowbelly Beer in Pembrokeston in County Wexford in the southeast of Ireland. This should be cool. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. And again, a massive thank you to Paul for making this review possible. I can't really tell you what this beer cost because Paul just gave them to me. But yeah, regardless, I think it is... I don't think it would cost all that much actually. But when I get over to Ireland for a visit, my cousin has an Irish girlfriend these days. You've seen her in my War Pigs video actually. I will go over to Dublin and get an idea of what the prices of Irish craft beers are. But yeah, there we go. This should be nice regardless. There we go. It's lined up again, so my OCD is happy. But anyway, as you can see then, and as you would expect, so before the head disappears, this beer is poured with a lovely 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say, very slightly creamy coloured head. It looks kind of perfect white on the camera right enough, but to me, on the naked eye, it looks quite slightly creamy. But yeah, that looks very, very good. You can see the beer itself has a lovely kind of bright yellow colour. If you shine the light through this one, it comes across very much like a mango juice. I always like comparing these hazy IPAs, the New England IPAs, to different fruit juices because that's just what the appearance reminds me of. But remember, the colour of your beer depends on 1, the type of malts that you use, 2, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. A New England sort of hazy IPA like this will undergo a wort boil of 70 to 90 minutes normally, but the level of haze in these beers often depends on The level of haze in these beers often depends on the oat and the wheat content. This can vary from brewery to brewery and even recipe to recipe. But for a 4.5% session IPA, this has actually got a fairly decent level of haze to it, this one, I have to say. So yeah, it certainly looks the part. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, it does look pretty nice. A lovely looking New England session IPA, this one, but nothing particularly surprising about the appearance, I think we have to say. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Just put my hand behind it so the light reflects the true colour of this, but a good level of haze on this one. Aroma time then, let's look at this. Oh, that does smell really nice. Very kind of first impression of it is that it's very, very smooth and drinkable. Now, as I've explained in New England IPA reviews before, I think there's 6 different directions that you can take when it comes to a New England IPA. They can be sort of farmhousey and yeasty, they can be rye leaning and grainy, wheaty and bitey, oaty and creamy, barley malt leaning and bready, or they can be a little bit more kind of sweet and brown sugary leaning. And quite often you will get a few of these different characteristics being displayed in the beer. This one, first off, strikes me as being very smooth. There's quite a bit of oaty character in there. It does have a good little bit of barley malt in it, and I do get a little bit of kind of wheaty bitiness as well. And I find that when it comes to these session IPAs, quite often they will use a little bit of wheaty zip in them just to make them that little bit more drinkable, actually. So I wonder if that's what we're going to see with this one. So let's have a closer look at that. But yeah, as I say, first off, the aroma, this comes across as very, very nice and very smooth. Lots of soft, juicy fruits, smooth malty backbone, and just a wee bit of zip to it. The green component's got a little bit of zip, and so does the wheat. But yeah, let's break that down for you a wee bit more. So, backbone of the beer is definitely the backbone of this beer is definitely nice, and kind of it's got a little bit of bread crust in there, but a lot of smooth white bread, a lot of smooth barley malty white bread, and it comes across as really nice and fresh, actually. Not too thick, but you wouldn't expect that from a session IPA. You wouldn't expect the bready character to be overly dense and overly thick. But yeah, you can smell a bit of the wheat in there, particularly at the back of the nose. You do get a little bit of that kind of wheaty bitiness, wheaty zip sort of thing, but you can smell the lovely kind of smooth oaty creaminess coming out of this one as well. And I think the oats actually start to dominate the malty side of the aroma the more that you smell of this beer. So that's quite interesting. Like I say, this comes across as a very smooth, kind of creamy leaning New England IPA, this one. You do get a little touch of sweetness out of this one. There is a little bit of that kind of Werther's Original brown sugary sort of thing coming out of this beer, which I think is quite nice. So you can smell a little bit of that smooth brown sugary sweetness in this, but it's not overly present, and again, you wouldn't really expect too much of that at session IPA level. You'd probably get it when you start going into the double IPAs and the triple IPAs and stuff like that, so you know, the 8 and the 10%ers and stuff like this. But yeah, the malty side of this beer is quite nice. Very, very smooth and oaty, but with a little bit of a kind of wheaty zip to it, which I do like. But on the hoppy side of things then, let's focus on the green component of the hops for the moment. So there's a little bit of, there is a little bit of kind of earthiness coming out of this one. You do get a little bit of that. That's most likely to come, I think, from the Hallertau Blanc, and it's very minimal and very smooth. So out of all the 3 of the hops in this, because we've got Centennial, Idaho 7, and El Dorado, those aren't really going to give you much of an earthiness, but pardon me, the Hallertau Blanc can give you a little bit of it, but it's very minimal. But you do get just a teeny little hint of earthy smoothness in there. There's quite a big floral aromaticity to this one. I wouldn't describe it as being overly spicy and bright or anything like that, but you've got a lovely little bit of a kind of grassy, zesty quality coming off of this beer as well. So yeah, I really like how that goes together in this one. So yeah, the oaty, you know, the oaty character that you get out of this as well just complements the green. It has a little bit of contrast there. You've got the smooth oats, but you've also got that nice, bright, slightly zesty, grassy colour character in there. But you also get a wee bit of that kind of fresh, wet cut grass kind of thing as well. So that's interesting. But let's look at the fruity component of the beer. So the fruity side of things, I actually find the fruitiness, it really leans towards that tropical side of things, but with the hops that are in here, that's what you would expect. So I do get quite a bit of smooth mango out of this one for sure, but there's quite a bit of depth to it. You get a bit of the apricot, you get a bit of the papaya, you can smell all of that in there, which I do like. And I do get a nice little bit of kind of pineapple coming out of it as well. So yeah, there are a few interesting points going on in this one. Like I say, wee bit of a kind of apricot, papaya for sure, and a wee bit of quite a bit of mango. I think mango is the most kind of dominant one in there, but yeah, smooth mango, wee bit of apricot, definitely some big pineapple as well, but I get quite a lot of that gooseberry, green grapey sort of thing from the Hallertau Blanc in this. You can smell that right on the kind of edge of the nose there. Interestingly though, I don't get too much of the lemony character from the Centennial, so I'm wondering if the Centennial is contributing a little bit more to the kind of grassiness of the beer and the slight zestiness you get in the grassiness, rather than giving you a kind of straight up lemony character. So that is quite interesting for sure. So yeah, a bit of food for thought when it comes to this beer, I have to say. So I like that about this one. But yeah, on the overall, I would say this is quite a smooth, oaty and juicy fruity leaning session IPA, this one. Not the zippiest that I've come across, but there are wee elements of that in there. But yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get stuck into it. But I think we can have a taste at this one then. So this is the Pirate Bay, a 4.5% session New England IPA, or New England Session IPA, I think we should call it, from Yellowbelly Beer in County Wexford in the southeast of Ireland. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, and cheers. Oh yeah, that's a really light, easy drinker, that one, for sure. Big contrast between that and the It's Not Vodka. That was a big imperial stout, that, and it was very nicely done. But yeah, that is just a really nice light sessioner, this one. The other beer that we're going to try from these guys, if I remember rightly, is a pale ale. So we're getting two really light beers from these guys this time. So I think the next time we have something from Yellowbelly, it will have to be, maybe like a sort of West Coast IPA or a West Coast double IPA, something like that, or a West Coast would be, maybe even just a regular New England double IPA would do the job. I think we need something from the light side of the spectrum that is heavier. I think that'll be an interesting thing to look at. But this is a solid session IPA. You could easily tan a few of these. If I sessioned beer, which I don't really do, I don't really drink outside of the videos these days, but yeah, this one would just go down very, very well. This would be a good beer for a festival, just like a sort of easy drinker, kind of palate cleansing one between trying all the sort of crazy things, because by no stretch of the imagination is this the craziest beer you're going to find from Yellowbelly, but it's really solid actually. So thumbs up to them for this. I think this is well done. Yeah. So, where do we start with this one then? Let's just break it down, as we always do. So straight away across the middle of your palate, you can feel a little bit of that kind of bread crusty sort of thing that just blankets the middle and the back third of your tongue. On top of that, there's a lovely kind of, fresh white bready character in there. And it dries up a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, bread crust, fresh white bread, you can feel the wheat sitting on top of that and just thickening it up a little bit. But the breadiness in this beer feels quite different. So I'm wondering if that's that Cara Clear malt that's in this one that's making that a bit different, because it feels a little bit more... it feels like it's quite airy, but at the same time it's quite a dense white bready flavour, actually, like a dense fresh white bread, but not too thick, if that makes sense. But yeah, as I say, you've got that fresh white bready layer there. Let's focus on the middle third of your palate for just now. So yeah, bread crust, fresh white bread, you can feel the wheat thickening it up, then on top of that you get a nice kind of smooth oaty character coming out of this one as well. You can feel the oats just sitting there in the middle third of your palate. It's almost like they go right down the middle line of your tongue. But then as you move further out towards the edges of the palate, they just get slightly drier actually. They're very smooth and dense in the middle, and as you go further into the aftertaste, they also get drier. So that's quite an interesting point about this beer. I wouldn't say that it has an overly big sweet component to it, but if you go towards the back of that, middle third of your tongue, it's you can feel a little bit of the dryness from the Pilsner malt there, and there is perhaps just a tiny little hint of a biscuity note in the very middle of your palate. So that's interesting. That's definitely interesting. But yeah, you can get a wee bit of that Pilsner malty dryness towards the back of that middle third of your tongue. Yeah, that does go together pretty solidly, I would say, in the middle third of your palate. It's everything you would expect from a kind of session IPA. It's just meant to be a light, easy drinking one, and it gives you that. But let's look at the back third of the palate then. So the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get that little bit of a bready build up there. You can feel the bread crusty notes are slightly more intense, I would say. So you get a wee bit of that. Then into that back third of your palate, you can feel a nice kind of, you can certainly feel that the bread crust is a little bit more grainy. Of course, the grainier, more bitter flavours come out towards the back of the palate, so you get that nice little bit of a kind of grainy, bread crusty sort of thing. On top of that, you get the more dense white bread, and I feel that's a wee bit thicker. You don't get so much of the oatiness in this one, but you do get a bit of the wheatiness, and it's got a little bit of bitey character to it, but the wheaty bitiness is actually quite mild in this one. You don't get too much in the way of kind of wheaty bitiness out of this beer, which is quite interesting. So yeah, surprised at that, to be honest. But yeah, that works out nicely in this beer for sure. So you do get a bit of that wheatiness. Then on top of all that, you can feel that slightly more dense, yeasty sort of thing. You can feel that smooth, almost slightly crackery, but still doughy white bread, yeasty kind of thing. So at the back of your palate, you can feel the flavour is quite tall. You can feel it's quite tall, but then it just condenses down as you come further forward. Then into the middle third of your palate, you've got that more condensed, bready sort of thing. But yeah, I think it goes about its business quite nicely in that sense. This one, it does. The bready, malty side of things, and this is quite nice. And compared to other session IPAs, it's certainly got a more dense, bready character to it, rather than being that sort of crisp and, you know, wheaty bitey sort of thing that we've seen in other session IPAs. So this one takes an interesting approach, but it certainly does work. It's one of the more oaty leaning New England session IPAs that I've come across from memory as well. So yeah, I like that about this one for sure. Interesting stuff, but then, you know, Yellowbelly are highly rated for a reason in my experience. So, on the hoppy side of things, then I don't think we really need to say very much more about the malty side of the beer. But hoppy side of things, then back corners of the palate, there is definitely a little bit of an earthiness to this one. You do get a little bit of that, but it disappears quite quickly as you come further forward. There's a little bit of herbal character, then as you push towards the front corners of the palate, it's certainly a little bit more kind of it's a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic for sure. So yeah, it's not madly floral. And remember, these New England IPAs tend to rely on late addition hops, and you know, West Coast ones of course have a lot of early addition hops, whereas the New England ones they tend to rely on their late addition and dry hops. West Coast IPAs have those as well, but the early addition hops are the ones that give you the big dankness and the big bitterness and stuff like that. So yeah, that's to be expected. But yeah, this one, the green component of this is quite smooth rather than anything. You do get just a little bit of floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, and round the front curve of the tongue, it is a wee bit kind of lighter and grassy, I would say. So again, I can appreciate how that goes together in this one. It works quite nicely in my opinion. But yeah, I like that. But round the front curve of the palate, as I say, a little bit lighter and grassy. Not really a zestiness to the grassy character, more like a kind of wet, freshly cut grass. But let's focus on that front third of your palate and the fruity side of things. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again, you get a little bit of a bready build-up. The base of that front third of your palate is a little bit of a kind of smooth white bready sort of thing. No real bread crust to it, but then on top of that you get that nice kind of oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And for me, this one gives you, it gives you at the back of that front third of your palate, you're getting all the soft tropical notes, so you can feel a little bit of a kind of juicy mango in there. You can feel a bit of, you know, apricot papaya sort of thing. So that's going to be the El Dorado and the it's going to be the El Dorado and the Idaho 7 that's going to give you that. So yeah, losing which hops were in this one, but yeah, it's the Idaho 7 is going to give you the really soft tropical fruits, whereas I think the El Dorado is going to give you the more oily, mango-y sort of thing. There's maybe a wee teeny touch of a, no, I wouldn't say there's passion fruit in this one, it's not strong enough to be that, but yeah, juicy mango. As you move further forward, a little bit of an apricot papaya sort of thing. You do get a wee bit of pineapple on that back half of the front third of your palate when you go further into the aftertaste. As you move into the front half of that front third of your palate, it changes quite a little bit. You get a lot of that kind of gooseberry, white, green, grapey sort of thing from the Hallertau Blanc, and that's really obvious in this. But the Centennial does show its head in the flavour in this one, we should say that. So yeah, nice little bit. Behind the very kind of front tip of your palate, you will get a wee bit of a kind of lemony, zesty sort of thing, and that's the Centennial. But that oily, gooseberry, green, grapey sort of thing really lingers there too. But overall, it's quite solid, this one. As I say, for a session IPA, I think this is pretty good and just pretty nice and easy drinking. So thumbs up to Yellowbelly for this. I'm not sure, when I think about this beer being, you know, exported and things like this, I mean, they would think maybe they want to do their more kind of crazy ones. You would want to export their more crazy beers rather than the kind of more session IPAs and pale ales and stuff like this. That's one of the things you would always think they would go for, the slight, you know, the double IPAs and things like this for the exports. But yeah, this certainly is a nice one, and it's a good, easy drinking. I guess when it's only coming to Scotland from Ireland, it's not such a big distance either, actually, and the cost price isn't that much different from the Scottish beers either. So that's an interesting wee tidbit of thought there as well. But yeah, I think we can round off this review with a mouthfeel then. So overall, I would say it's kind of mid. I think it's mid-bodied. I think it's right in the middle of the spectrum. So yeah, nice, smooth mouthfeel on this one, definitely. It's got a little bit of oiliness to it, actually. The carbonation is very, very smooth. The mouthfeel, as we said, has a little bit of creaminess to it, actually. So quite an oily but still quite smooth, creamy New England Session IPA. On the hoppy side of things, I would say that it's a... I would say that the IBUs in this, I think this is a fairly standard 30 IBU beer, which I do like. Malty side of it is quite nice, and the malty side of it is, yeah, quite smooth. There's not really a degree of sweetness to this one. Quite a nice, smooth and kind of, yeah, creamy New England IPA. But you've also got some nice, juicy, fruity characters to... quite a nice bit of juicy fruity character coming out of this one too, which I also enjoy. So it's, yeah, quite just a fruity, juicy and oaty, creamy New England IPA. I think in terms of IBUs, yeah, standard 30. Malt base is quite smooth, not really sweet. Then the fruity characters have got a wee bit of oiliness to it, but a mix between tropical leaning and kind of more oily leaning as well. So yeah, a thumbs up to Yellowbelly for this one. Like I say, not their craziest beer you're going to find, I don't think, but pretty damn solid and a very nice session IPA. So we can leave it at that. Yeah, this was the Pirate Bay New England Session IPA coming in at 4.5% ABV from Yellowbelly Beer in County Wexford in the southeast of the Republic of Ireland. Let's leave it there. Thank you again for watching my reviews, guys. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Yellowbelly Beer as well. And a big thank you to Paul from Daliada Imports for making this review possible. So we can leave it at that. Until the next time, slange at school, cheers. Check out my social media, check out Yellowbelly's social media, and we'll see you guys soon with more reviews and definitely more Irish ones to come over the next little while.